Hey everybody, I'm Trading Man Dan with the Chart Guys. I've been trading crypto for the last 7+ years and trading stocks for the last 14. Going to be checking in on the crypto charts with a longer term perspective, more of a swing trade mindset. We're going to look at the crypto stocks. I'll touch on the broader market. We've had a lot of volatility the last week plus, what I think bigger picture, and a whole lot more. Feel free to ask any questions. Appreciate the likes and the shares. I'll get to the questions after I run through my rundown. All right, so first things first, Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. So what we have is a confirmed weekly downtrend with no follow through. We know that when trends confirm with no follow through, we zoom out and scout the possibility of flags. This is a possible monthly bull flag. Right now, the burden is on the bears to prove to us that this is not a monthly bull flag. The simple statement is if 53.5 thousand holds, it's a monthly bull flag. We've got the EMA 12 there and a nice solid bounce off that level. From the weekly perspective, it's looking like we may be shaping up a weekly lower high. We know that anything under 72,000 is a weekly lower high. If I'm a bull, what I want to see in the instance of a weekly lower high forming is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Oftentimes, bull flags have an inverse head and shoulders on a shorter term time frame. It's bulls regaining the trend on a shorter term time frame, confirming a longer term bull flag. So we're watching retracement size. If we pull back more than 50% of this bounce, that would be a bit of a red flag. Bulls want to hold less than 50% retracement. Right now, 61,000 is that 50% retracement mark. So to answer the question, are we going to see a weekly lower high form? We zoom into the daily, and we can see on the daily, we have a clear daily uptrend support level at 63.2 thousand, and we held that by $200 just now. What we have to be watching for is this a head and shoulders? Oftentimes, we look for the most likely scenario on a longer term time frame, and then we zoom in and look for clues that it's shaping up with a pattern on a shorter term time frame. I just did this with the broader market stock bounce. Saw a 5-minute rising wedge in the NASDAQ, knowing an hourly lower high is the most likely scenario. In this instance, we're going to be watching to see if a daily head and shoulders confirms to start that weekly consolidation. And then we would look for a weekly higher low. So it's all about 63.2 thousand in the short term. If we're going to get any bounce follow through from that level, we zoom in even further. We need a 4-hour trend change to the bulls. With the current 4-hour bounce, anything under 67.1 thousand is just a lower high. The bulls need a big enough bounce to create the space for the 4-hour trend change to confirm. So what we just did is how I operate as a full-time trader. I go from the longer term time frame, I identify the most likely scenario, I zoom in, I look for signs that it's forming, and you can do that on down the line. We just did the weekly to the daily to the 4-hour time frame. Checking my mic real quick. Nope, it's a good one. So, practice doing that. Oh, you're right. I am on the wrong mic.
There we go. Thanks for the heads up. So practice doing that one time frame at a time. So now I know exactly, I have the roadmap clearly laid out. We need another leg up ideally. If we confirm the 4-hour uptrend, daily bounce underway, we then watch for the possibility of a daily lower high, for the possibility of a head and shoulders, if we're going to set that weekly lower high. All right. Have to keep in mind a couple of things. Number one, tech earnings coming up for the stock market, a bit less important. More important, FOMC next Wednesday, which means we've got 6 trading days before the FOMC reaction. And so that's going to be notable as well. And we're going to be watching the dollar. We'll get into the dollar and the broader market here in just a bit. First, the dominance chart. Bitcoin dominance is heading back towards the recent high. So we can see it's been going straight up the last few days. What does that mean? Well, we know there's weakness in crypto. We just saw metals and crypto dump together over the last 24, 36 hours or so. And while that's happening, the dominance is shooting up, which tells us the altcoins are dropping harder than Bitcoin. And so, of course, if you're a Bitcoin bull, you want to see that dominance keep grinding up. We were close to rolling over, but held on. And so, again, you will not see any kind of alt season, any kind of alt rotation if the dominance chart is up near its highs. ETH. So this was the kind of setup leading into the ETF where it was almost, as a trader, you want to be contrarian at times. And when everybody's looking one way, you want to look the other way. But this was the kind of setup where, you look at everything and say, is it this obvious a short? Is it this obvious a bear entry? It can't be that obvious, can it? And the answer is, yeah, it was that obvious. So what? What confluence of signals did we have? Well, number one, a weekly lower high was the most likely scenario. We've got a nice equilibrium, high, low, lower high, double bottom. We knew a lower high was the most likely scenario. Okay. Number two, we had a 12-hour rising wedge. This is a bearish pattern. Wherever you draw the anchor from, you've got this uptrending resistance, uptrending support. That broke bear. Why did we look for a rising wedge? Bull break, no follow through. Bull break, no follow through. We roll over. Okay, so that's zooming out, weekly most likely scenario, zooming in, finding a bearish pattern where I say if a weekly lower high is going to form, it's going to be a 12-hour rising wedge, which has now confirmed. Of course, the ETF. So we have a history that we can now look back on, the Bitcoin ETF launch. We saw downside pressure for a number of reasons. Number one, we ran up into the ETF on Bitcoin and we ran up on ETH. 20% move up, 20% plus into that ETF launching. Number two, we have the same setup with Grayscale. Grayscale already has a vehicle, ETHE, and they, rather than going 1.5% fees, went the extra mile, 2.5% fees, when everybody else is 0.25. They have 10 times the fees of pretty much every other ETF. We know that there's going to be a rush out of ETHE and significant outflows. Some of it's going to go into the other ETFs, but that's going to be leading to downward pressure, which it certainly has at this point. So now if the bulls are going to save things here, the weekly lower high is already set. We know a support level everybody can see from space. We must hold that low at 2,800 and break where we just came from at 35.63 and regain a weekly uptrend if these bulls are going to take back over. If we break and lose 2,800 support, I will then be really cautious of a long-term equilibrium. And again, you may remember, I thought Bitcoin might give us a long-term equilibrium. I was wrong. We hit a new all-time high. But there's a lot of altcoins that can still do it. And so if 2,800 breaks, we're looking to tighten up like this in a many-year equilibrium, a 5+ year equilibrium into 2025 or 2026. But that's all about 2,800. Very key level to see if this long-term tightening range is going to come or not. So if we keep holding 2,800, we're not going to set that long-term lower high. But here we are heading back down towards that support. And the most notable thing for me is that ETH BTC cannot get a bull break to save its life. Whether I'm, guest on other channels, wherever I have been talking about this, I've been talking about this pattern for over 6 months. And we just keep rejecting. We have not confirmed a weekly uptrend on ETH BTC. If ever there was a time to do it, it would be the ETF launch. And we just have not done it in over a year. Absolutely nothing is going to change. We will remain significantly weaker than Bitcoin as long as this downtrending resistance line remains intact. And here it is, fully intact for a very long time. We're now approaching 2 years of this downtrend. So we're also heading back towards the weakest that ETH has been compared to Bitcoin in the last 3+ years. So again, we just got to call it like it is. This is just fail after fail from the ETH bulls. Now, is it possible that we see things balance a bit like Bitcoin did? Bitcoin sold off on the initial launch of the ETF, and then the ETF inflows kicked it into high gear, and we saw follow through and got that all-time high, which I felt was potentially the less likely scenario. ETF definitely helped that. ETH is going to need significant inflows to see anything similar than that. Or I should say similar to that. But again, as of right now, it is full bear control and something significantly has to change on both of the charts. Obviously the ETH USD chart, but also ETH BTC needs a significant shift as well. We got space for a daily lower high. Next bounce, you better believe the bears are going to be watching for a potential daily lower high. Look at this previous support zone. If I missed a short or if I want to add or anything like that, I'm watching this previous support, now resistance, and I would like to see a big bounce back to that level to scout a daily lower high. What bulls want to see from a broader market perspective? We've had a big sell-off in the broader market recently. It was led by the NASDAQ. Big drop on the NASDAQ the last few weeks. It's not game over. You know, we ran straight up for months. That ends with periods of consolidation. Semiconductors in the NASDAQ led the way down. There's been a massive shift in rotation. This is the kind of thing that myself as a stock trader, we're just like jaw-dropping watching this going on. The shift is out of tech and semiconductors, which have been leading this entire move up, and it's into IWM, growth names, and the financial sector and healthcare, and things that didn't participate as significantly. And it was triggered by CPI numbers that we got a couple weeks ago. And the names that benefited the most, IWM, which is growth, the highest risk, highest reward stocks in the market is IWM, metals, and crypto all benefited from the CPI reaction. If you look at IWM divided by QQQ, this is showing us the most significant rotation out of QQQ and into IWM. I mean, look at forever. It's clearly been big tech for 2 decades. This is the most significant rotation, the fastest that we've seen it in many years. In my opinion, that's a good thing for crypto. It shows risk on mindset in the stock market world, and it shows money rotating, not leaving. When everything's dropping, money's leaving the market. When things are rotating, it's very different. And so we do have rotation going on. So that is one benefit. If I'm a crypto bull, I want to see IWM here head back to all-time highs. Nice sideways range. Again, it's not a tick-for-tick correlation. I'm talking sentiment. So sentiment will be good if IWM can head back to all-time highs. And that's 10% away from where we stand. The dollar, as we know, has an impact. The dollar confirmed a weekly downtrend with no follow-through, just like Bitcoin did. I mean, this looks a lot like Bitcoin if we were to get a 2-week bounce going. But if I am a crypto bull, I want to see a failed daily inverse head and shoulders attempt, which the bulls are attempting to shape up right now. And I want to see another leg down because we got a beautiful monthly equilibrium, and I want follow-through from those bears. And that could potentially help. Again, it's not a tick-for-tick inverse correlation, but there's definitely an inverse correlation between crypto and the dollar. So in an ideal world, you know, obviously we're watching the price levels of the crypto themselves, Bitcoin, ETH, everything. But what I want to see is IWM strong and the dollar weak as far as being a favorable bullish environment for crypto to operate in. So if you don't follow stocks, probably should. But if you don't, the vast majority of people that hit it big in crypto that I know moved on to stocks and futures and commodities. And there's a reason for that. There's more opportunity. There's less fees. Anyways, aside from that whole spiel, if you're not following stocks, IWM and the dollar are the 2 things that you want to be watching for the rest of the year, in my opinion. All right, on to altcoins. So the altcoins that I've been paying the most attention to, and again, I am not actively trading altcoins. I've got, sometimes I'll swing crypto. If I am, it's probably in my, free Fidelity account as far as not having to pay 6 figures in fees to trade like I do when I trade crypto. But XRP is a lead bull, and shout out to the people. I did a live stream when it was at its lows, and people were talking about being bullish, and I said I have no interest trying to nail the bottom. I am in a more conservative trading mindset the last few years, and that is not my trade setup. But it did bounce in a very big way. And so those that were more aggressive were rewarded. So congrats to that. Nice little trend change, and then the bulls took off. So we got a daily uptrend as our guide. We got higher lows. I'm watching the monthly downtrend. So XRP has been setting monthly lower highs for over a year. Lower high, and we could say on the current bounce, if we don't break 744, it's just another long-term lower high. So that's the goal for the bulls to get over. The weekly time frame for XRP, we have not confirmed a weekly uptrend yet. What the bulls want to see after all these rejections, weekly EMA 12 over and over again, hold the back test. Next time we see consolidation, hold the back test for the higher low and confirm the weekly uptrend to make a run at that monthly resistance. The daily uptrend is our guide. As long as we keep setting daily higher lows, bulls don't have anything to worry about. And right now, the most important short-term level is 58. If we lose 58 cents, weekly consolidation is likely shaping up. See what I just did there again? I started on the monthly. I saw the key resistance. I went to the weekly, noted that we have not confirmed a weekly uptrend yet. Weekly consolidation will be inevitable eventually. I go to the daily. What are the signs that weekly consolidation would be shaping up? There aren't any because we're still in a daily uptrend, but if we lose a daily uptrend, then it's shaping up. Longer term, and then you're just on the microscope, just going zoom in, and analyzing the most likely scenarios, see where the clarity is, and then watch that pattern until it confirms or negates. Sol is the other lead bull, but right at resistance. Bears are making a stand here. Beautiful equilibrium. Similar to ETH, what's the big difference? The bounce retracement got us all the way back up to this high. If ETH were that strong and did the same thing, that weekly bounce would have gotten us up to 3,900. But obviously, we bounced closer to 50% retracement before topping out, whereas Sol bounced almost 100%. Not 100% gain, 100% of the drop. Recovered almost all of the drop. That said, we did fail 189 resistance, got right up to it, and then we just confirmed a 12-hour downtrend. Lower high and lower low. So that's an initial rejection. Bulls can still save it here by keeping daily EMA 12, but if that 12-hour downtrend gets another leg down, that weekly lower high is likely set, and we would then look for a continued tightening range. But again, relative strength here. I know without looking, Sol BTC, aside from recently, has had a strong move up the last month. So those are the two names that I'm keeping an eye on in the altcoin space because of their relative strength. I can say these names are positioned well if Bitcoin can save it. Obviously, if Bitcoin confirms the head and shoulders on the daily into weekly consolidation, we're going to see weekly consolidation very likely in these names as well. Crypto stocks. So Coin had a beautiful weekly equilibrium bull break with no follow through. It's not surprising that we didn't get follow through. Number one, NASDAQ dumped real hard over the last week. But most importantly, number two, Bitcoin did not break weekly resistance. So it's almost like, all right, nice bull break, but you got to keep an eye over your shoulder and say, come on, Bitcoin, you're either going to confirm this move and break your weekly resistance, or it's going to be a little bit of a red flag because we know Bitcoin isn't going to break its weekly resistance. We're not going to get a ton of follow through. So the most important level right now on Coin is 207 to try and keep the weekly uptrend going. And again, just a big dump with the broader market overall. We had both Bitcoin and the NASDAQ dropping hard at the same time. Definitely impacts Coin in a big way. We also have earnings approaching in a couple of weeks, and we now have space for a daily lower high to be the most likely result of the next bounce. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Coin, lots of names in crypto are watching for the possibility of daily lower highs to be the result of the next bounce. MARA, weekly, broke bull, highest level in many months, gave it all back. It's definitely choppy out there in the crypto stock world. I had a great entry right here. Huge 3-day move. Definitely took some profits into that move. Leave a runner position, break evens down here, but obviously not a good look to break on the weekly and go right back within the range that you were just in for months. CLSK, I love the clarity of this sideways range. We're going to break this and volatility is going to pick up a lot. Right now, the most important support is 1484. Look at these resistance rejections. We had 2064 resistance. We ran straight up and rejected by less than a percent. It's not surprising to reject when in 3 days, 3.5 days, you go up 37% straight up, right into resistance, confirm a daily downtrend. We're back to being range bound. It's entirely possible we remain range bound here for another month plus, but the burden's now on bulls to hold this support zone. And it's always easier in hindsight, but if you buy 16 and sell 20, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So there is a very clear range that traders are very clearly trading off of these support and resistance zones. And again, a break and volatility is coming later this summer. As far as some of these smaller cap crypto miners, they ran hard, Hut and Wolf, but this is why we love stair steps. By the time the weekly stair step broke bear, we had already pulled back 16%. And so many times you might think, oh, I missed the move. We're already down 16% from the high. I didn't sell, I should have sold, or I didn't short, I could have shorted. Then we break the weekly stair step and we instantly drop another 10%. And Wolf did the same thing. You break that weekly stair step and follow through 10% plus. So don't feel like the move is missed because its X% has already played out. Use the longer term time frames and use those stair steps because they are nice. And we're going to look for weekly higher lows in these names, but obviously momentum has shifted. These names are much stronger than the big names we just looked at. The big names, sideways, bull breaks, no follow through, Wolf and Hut. There's another one that starts with an S, not SDEG, but something similar. I forget. But they had weekly breakouts. They reached, Wolf here just hit the highest level in years. That's very meaningful. So I was surprised that the small cap miners saw so much follow through, but they certainly did. And the large cap names are looking at these small cap charts and saying, man, I hope my name does that. There is some drama with Riot trying to hostile takeover BITF. And I'm just becoming aware of that. I'm not following the drama and the fundamentals, but it's interesting to read about BITF, clear weekly tightening range. Riot has been a weaker miner for a long time. You look at MARA divided by Riot, and this shows that not in the last week, but overall for the last year, MARA has been stronger. But something to pay attention to if you trade Riot or BITF. Those headlines obviously have an impact. But no, I'm not interested in Riot anymore. I moved on to CLSK. I trade CLSK and MARA and Coin as the only crypto stocks that I trade, aside from the Bitcoin ETF. The ETH ETF, ETHV as an example, not a great start. I mean, you open and 2 days later, it's down 12%. So anybody buying the ETFs in the red by a lot, volume dropping off massively, and we'll see if we can get a little bit of a turnaround, but I don't expect the dollar volume inflow into these ETFs to be anywhere near what Bitcoin did, but I don't know what the market is expecting. Is the market expecting $1 billion in inflows in the first week, and it's going to disappoint, or it's going to, exceed expectations? I don't know. The clear, consensus would be it's going to be a lot lower than Bitcoin's astounding, volume and inflow. But again, it's hard to gauge what the market is anticipating for those inflows. We don't really have a clear metric. Obviously, price is down since the launch. Check back in on the stock world real quick. Got this short on. Again, this rising wedge. Grabbed this QQQ short. Need to cover that soon because an hourly higher low is the most likely scenario. Bitcoin hourly. So yeah, very similar. Looking to top out, have to confirm an hourly uptrend. Then we go to the 4 hour. Bulls want another leg up to try and create the space for a 4 hour inverse head and shoulders. If we get another leg up, one time frame at a time. And again, the correlation to the NASDAQ definitely picks up way more during regular trading hours. It's not a coincidence that Bitcoin's low of the day is at 1010, and we've gone straight up since then. And the NASDAQ's low of the day is 1010, and we went straight up. And we could say Bitcoin's holding on a bit better right now, hasn't started hourly consolidation, but clearly Bitcoin is tracking the NASDAQ. And there are many times where the 5 and 15-minute time frame for Bitcoin will be tracking the NASDAQ during regular trading hours. That correlation diminishes significantly when the market closes, but it's very often there during regular trading hours. So if you're day trading crypto and Bitcoin, definitely need to be watching the stock market as well. All right. Unless you got any questions here, I'm going to wrap it up. Just checking on our list. Theta, I mean, some of these altcoins are never going back to all-time highs. You've heard me say that a million times. I've heard other people say it. Theta will never see all-time highs again. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going 98.7% chance. It just reminds me of the penny stock world with crypto. What happens in the penny stock world, the OTC, is it's 95% plus scams. You have a couple companies that make it and hit it big. If you bought Monster Energy when it was a penny stock, you're up 8 million%. Yes, absolutely. Life-changing. That is one out of thousands and thousands of penny stocks that made it. And so you got your Sol or your ETH or whatever. This altcoin made it. And that keeps, the majority of people in crypto are trying to hit it big and get rich quick to change their financial lives because they are extremely frustrated with the way things are going. And if you've got those success stories, a few of them, you're going to keep suckering people in to try and find the next one. I mean, how much money is going to be lost on these meme coins versus how many lives are going to be changed? It's a fraction versus the majority. And so what you're going to get is, in my opinion, it's just going to be the same thing. The altcoin space is going to turn into, it already is, it's the penny stock world of majority scams. The vast majority of people lose money. You get a couple stories, the 0.1% of people that made it big, they keep getting the money, they keep getting the people pulling the casino slot machine to try and hit it big, and the vast majority are just going to lose. Long-term outlook on Bitcoin, I think an all-time high is coming. Another one, but you better believe I'm prepared for this to be it. Right now I have a little bit of stock crypto exposure, but it's just long-term no-touch positions for me at this point. Don't have high enough conviction to go aggressive in the crypto space right now. CORZ. Is that the right one? Yep. If I struggle to find something that has any volume or anything meaningful to look at a chart, unless I'm an idiot and looking in the wrong place, which is entirely possible, it's just not worth trading, in my opinion. So we have a clear weekly downtrend. We had an equilibrium break bear. The bear break was at 150. We dropped a solid 40% plus from there. And anything under 256 is just a weekly lower high. So it looks like another weekly lower high may be shaping up. If that's going to confirm, we need to confirm the daily downtrend. We got a lot of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. If the bears confirm the daily downtrend from here, weekly lower high is set, and we look back to the recent low of 83 cents. Here's another one. I'm popping everybody's bubbles. You can disagree with me all you want. I don't think we ever see an altcoin season anything like 2017 again. I think that's it. I would love to be wrong, but I just don't see it happening again. I participated in some penny stock, booming, raging markets and they are very few and far between. And you go years and years without it ever happening again. And then when it happens again, you get back 10% of what you did the last time. Core's Bitcoin mining stock. Thank you, idiot. So weekly stair step broke. Not as much of a pullback as Wolf and Hut from their weekly stair step. We know a weekly higher low is the most likely scenario. So retracement still fine at this point. Have we confirmed a daily downtrend? Yes. Why we're not following through for the bears right now is the bulls are defending this zone. So that's an important zone in the low $9 range. You can see how many times we held it on the way up. You know, my target, once you confirm the daily downtrend, I go to weekly EMA 12 from there. We don't have much history here, so we can't really say that weekly EMA 12 is meaningful, but we can say that if weekly EMA 12 holds, retracement size will still be fine, bigger picture, considering we just ran up a couple 100%. That's a nice one. That reminds me of ARM, ARM, the semiconductor, where it has the IPO, it trades sideways and builds a base, and then you get your blue sky run. Blue sky is the best place to be if you are a bull. So that's a good thing. But again, just got to keep an eye on the top of that, or on the amount of that retracement size. I think Bitcoin favors an all-time high because we confirmed a weekly downtrend straight into a significant bounce right off of monthly EMA 12. So that all looks good to me for the bulls. And because I'm still bullish the broader market. I mean, the S&P 500 with the rotation we're seeing, is there anything wrong with that weekly chart? I don't think so. That can change, but at the moment, no red flags. SPY longer term. There's a good one. Thanks for the reminder on the convention. So Trump is speaking Saturday. Again, fairly priced in my opinion, unless we get a bombshell headline. If Trump says he's going to put the, reserve currency, Bitcoin, okay, we're going to go bullish. But, if he's just talking about, I didn't like Bitcoin, but now I'm a fan and people should be able to choose what they want. And if that's the message, yeah, it's cool, it's great. But I don't expect a significant price reaction. We can say we're going to see higher volume and volatility on Saturday than we normally do on weekends. That's a given. But, if we bounce, one possibility, we got 2 trading days, right? So one possibility is the daily bounce gets going, no jaw-dropping new headline, and that sets a daily lower high. Have to prepare for that to be a possibility. So unless there's something new, I don't see any kind of sustained bull move in response to Trump speaking. That's already, part of this, or whenever it was announced. Trump is not going to talk about marijuana at the Bitcoin conference. All right. I appreciate you all tuning in. Thanks again for the likes and the shares. Nice to be back every now and again in the crypto world. Again, I'm trading crypto way less. A lot of it has to do with fees. A lot of it has to do with just as much opportunity in the stock world. But I do still swing crypto every now and again. I do still have my long-term no touch. And definitely watching this monthly bull flag attempt very closely. If it fails, many altcoins have multi-year sideways ranges shaping up. And again, I'm more and more just, sticking to a handful of altcoins that are proving with price that they're the ones to pay attention to. Keeping in mind, Meta, the metaverse names were the ones to pay attention to for a bunch of months. Now they're dead. You got to be moving. Clearly the altcoin space is for trading, not investing, in my opinion. And I know, again, a lot of people may disagree with that, but it's just if you're going to talk about your probabilities of investing in the altcoin space, there's just so much against you. And make sure and do good things. Have a great Thursday.